Hello everyone. So this time I am going to discuss the limit laws. So under siya sa ating lesson 2. So limit of the function f of x equals m as x approaches to a, and limit of the function g of x as x approaches to a. Then so first limit laws I have listed is the constant. So I have prepared 10 limit laws to be discussed. So first is the constant laws. So constant laws states that the limit of a constant as x approaches to a is equal to c, or the constant. So we have 3 examples. First, the limit of the constant 5 as x approaches to negative 1 is equal to 5. Since walay variable ang limits, automatic kung sa tong constant na given mo ito ang answer. So number 2, limit of the constant 20 as x approaches to 5. So the answer would be 20 kasi walang variable yung given na function natin. So constant lang man ang given. So kung sa itong given na constant, mo ito ang answer. Okay, next is the identity law. So, limit of x as x approaches to a is equal to a. So, example, limit of x as x approaches to negative 1. So, kung i-substitute sa variable, so, syempre, negative 1. Pani, limit of x as x approaches to negative 5. Syempre, 5 ang answer. Wala mo kailangan isolve. Limit of x as x approaches to 0, so the answer would be 0. Okay, next loss is the constant multiple. So the limit of the constant multiplied by the function as x approaches to a is equal to constant times the limit of the function f of x as x approaches to a. So example, limit of 3x as x approaches to 2 is equal to ang constant na 3 gigawas 3 limit of x as x approaches to 2. So automatic ang 3, then limit of x as x approaches to 2, so 2. So the answer would be 6. So ikan ani ang way of solving using limit laws. So pwede ra gud ano nimo, pwede lang man na i-shortcut nimo pag without minding the limit laws, correct gihapon to siya. Pero i-show ko lang sa lesson na ito kung paano i-solve ang limits using laws. Okay, so next is the sum law. So limit of the function f of x plus g of x as x approaches to a is equal to limit of f of x as x approaches to a plus limit of g of x as x approaches to a. So, i-add lang sila. Example, limit of 3x plus 4 as x approaches to negative 1. So, syempre, addition. So, i-add limit of 3x as x approaches to negative 1 plus limit of 4 as x approaches to negative 1. So, kanina portion, under siya sa constant multiple na loss. So, di ba, pwede ka makagamit nila og constant multiple na loss. So, ani, 3 limit of x as x approaches to negative 1. Kani, pwede ka makagamit og constant loss. Constant loss. Limit of 4 as x approaches to negative 1. So, wala variable. So, 4 ang answer. Diri, copy 3. Then, limit of x as x approaches to negative 1. So, negative 1. So, 3 times negative 1 is negative 3 plus 4. So, yun anak pag-show ang solving sa limits using laws. Sum law. Or, kung dili ka magamit og law, tama gyapon kung diretso nimo i-substitute 3x plus 4, then approaches to negative 1, Negative 3 plus 4. 1. Pwede gapon kung yun ani mong way of solving. Kung for example, sa exam, kung dili required ang process sa limit laws, pwede rin yun ani mong gamiton na solving. Kung asa ang masayon dito ka. Pero kung just in case sa mga exam or activity, kung gina-required ang correct process sa limit laws, so ingon ani pag-show sa correct process sa ato ang limit laws. Okay, next is the difference law. O same process lang siya sa sum, mag-differ lang siya sa sign na gigamit. Since ang sum nagamit og add, ang difference magamit og minus. Okay, sa example, limit of 3x minus 4 as x approaches to negative 1. So, same. Gamit ka diri og constant multiple. Diri nagamit ka og constant. So, limit 3 of x as x approaches to negative 1, magiging 3 limit of x approaches to negative 1 minus limit of 4 as x approaches to negative 1. Answer would be 4. So, diri 3 times negative 1, substitute. So, magiging negative 7. So, yun ani ang proper process using difference law. Pero kung dili required ang laws, ang step-by-step process, so pwede ra na same ani imong gamiton in solving. Kay mas dali og masayon. Okay. Okay, next is the power law 1. So, the limit of x raised to the power of n as x approaches to a is equal to a raised to the power of n. So, ito yung laws. Ito yung law. Sa example, limit of x cubed as x approaches to 2. So, kung gamitan natin ng limit laws, so magiging magiging 2 raised to the power of 3. So, 2 raised to the power of 3 is 8. Nana. Okay, next, power laws 2. So, another power law. So, limit of f of x raised to the power of n as x approaches to a is equal. So, ganito yung way of solving. Limit of function x as x approaches to a raised to the power of n. So, example, limit of x plus 1 squared as x approaches to 2. So, magiging, ngun ani na ang ato ang sundon. So, magiging limit of x plus 1 x approaches to 2 raised to the power of 2. So, next, so, magiging, kana silang naa sa sulod, pwede ka magamit og sum laws. So, limit of x as x approaches to 2 plus limit of 1 as x approaches to 2 raised to the power of 2. Okay, next, limit of x, so, identity 2 plus, constant 1. So, 2 plus 1 raised to the power of 2. So, magiging 3 raised to the power of 2. So, the answer would be 9. So, kung i-required na magamit og process sa limit laws, so yun ano yung iyang process. Pero kung wala nag-required og process, pwede ra na diretso i-substitute nimo. O diretso i-substitute nimo 2 plus 1 raised to the power of 2. 3 squared. So, same naghihapon. May naghihapon ang result. Kani, with limit laws na process, kani wala. Pwede naghihapon. So, kung pina-abrupt ang solution or ang need na kailangan og answer, so pwede ka na lang. Kung dili man required ang process sa limit laws, pwede ka na lang imong gamiton. Kaya masayon. Okay, next is the product laws. So, i-multiply. So, limit of function f of x as x approaches to a times g of x. So, multiply lang sila. So, example, limit of x plus 2 times x minus 2 as x approaches to positive 1. So, ito yung, so, product, under siya sa product ay, i-multiply sila. So, yun, ani ihang process. So, isa-isa ko na nimo, limit of x plus 2 as x approaches to 1, multiply limit of x minus 2 as x approaches to positive 1. Next, magamit ka diri og identity loss o constant loss. So, limit of x as x approaches to 1 plus limit of 2 as x approaches to 1. Diri, limit of x as x approaches to 1 minus. So, kani is sum law, kani is difference law. Limit of 2 as x approaches to 1. So, pina-answer, tira, 1 plus 2. Dira, 1 minus 2. So, 1 plus 2 is 3 times negative 1. So, the answer is negative 3. Or simply, kung wala nag-required o process sa limit loss, pwede ra na nimong i-substitute ang 1 plus 2, 1 minus 2. So, magiging 3 times negative 1. O same, hapon ang result na negative 3. Kani, nag-undergo o process sa limit loss, kani, wala. So, kung asa mo masayunan during exam or activity, kung ang evaluating limits, wala nag-require og limit loss, pwede ra kaninyong gamiton. Di ba, mas dali lang man kay gamay yung solution kaysa kung magamit ka og limit loss na perti kataas. Okay, next. Under na to sa quotient. Next na to ni dali na portion. Okay, so sa quotient law, so syempre, ato ang i-divide. So the limit of the function f of x divided by g of x as x approaches to a, so i-divide lang sila. So example, limit of x squared minus 2 divided by 5 plus 4x as x approaches to negative 1, so i-divide. So magiging limit of x squared minus 2 as x approaches to negative 1 divided by limit of 5 plus 4x as x approaches to negative 1. So, diri sa numerator, magamit ka og power law and pwede pud ka magamit og difference law or pwede po magamit og difference law, kana magamit og power law, kani magamit og constant law. Diri sa baba magamit ka og sum law, then kana constant law, kana is constant multiple. Sige, show na to. Ay medyo taas ang solving. Okay, so magiging sa numerator magiging limit of x squared, x approaches to negative 1 minus limit of 2 as x approaches to negative 1. So sa denominator, limit of 5 as x approaches to negative 1 minus limit of 2, limit of 4x So, for limit of x as x approaches to negative 1. So, dali na nato isumpay ha. Tara. So, sa numerator, magiging negative 1 squared. Negative 1 squared minus limit of 2 as x approaches to negative 1 is 2. Minus 2. Sa denominator, limit of 5 as x approaches to negative 1 is 5. Minus 4. Limit of x as x approaches to negative 1, so negative 1. So, magiging negative 1 squared is positive 1 minus 2, 5 minus 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. So, magiging 1 minus 2 over 5 plus 4. So, negative 1 over 5 plus 4 is 9. 9. So, negative 1 over 9. Okay, so next proceed to root loss. Okay, so next is the quotient laws. So, sa quotient laws, ato alang i-divide. So, the limit of a function f of x divided by g of x as x approaches to a. So, i-divide lang sila. So, example, limit of x squared minus 2 divided by 5 plus 4x as x approaches to negative 1. So, i-divide natin. So, ito yung proper process using limit loss. Okay, so limit of x squared minus 2 as x approaches to negative 1 divided by limit of 5 plus 4x as x approaches to negative 1. So, this time, dire as a numerator, magamit ka power loss, magamit ka identity loss, pwede din difference loss. Diri, constant loss, then constant multiple in sum law. Okay. So, magiging, sa numerator, limit of x squared, x approaches to negative 1. So, under siya sa power law. Next, minus limit of 2 as x approaches to negative 1. So, constant law. Then, ang whole process sa numerator is under sa difference law. So, sa denominator, limit of 5 as x approaches to negative 1. So, constant law plus. So, under siya sa sum law. Next is 4 limit of x as x approaches to negative 1. So, under siya sa constant multiple. Okay, next. So, ang answer, negative 1 squared. So, under sa power law, negative 1 squared. Next constant, negative 2. So, sa denominator, so constant, 5 plus 4 times negative 1. So, magiging 1 minus 2. 5 minus 4. So, 1 minus 2, paano nato na? Negative 1 over 5 minus 4 is 1. So, the answer is negative. Is the root loss. So, the limit of the nth root of the function f of x as x approaches to a is equal to the nth root of limit of f of x as x approaches to a. So, ito yung loss niya. So, example, the limit of the square root of x cubed plus 2 as x approaches to 2. So, to solve using the limit loss, so, yun, ano yun na iyang forma. So, the square root of limit x cubed plus 2 as x approaches to 2. So, magiging square root of limit x cubed as x approaches to 2 plus, so, power loss, ang isa is limit of 2 as x approaches to 2. So, constant loss. So, magiging square root of 2 cube plus 2. So, magiging square root of 8 plus 2. So, magiging 8 plus 2. So, square root of 10. Or, kung i-decimal yung mong answer, 3.1622. Or 23. Kung i-round off. So, muna na yung answer. So, muna yung process using limit loss. So, kung dili ka mag-undergo o process sa limit loss, pwede ra pod na automatic i-substitute nimo ang value na 2 cube plus 2. Ano lang? So, 8 plus 2, square root of 10. Mas sayon o mas dali compared kung mag-undergo ka o process sa limit loss.